Noah Feldman, The Arab Winter, A Tragedy. In The Arab Winter, A Tragedy, Noah Feldman explores the Arab Spring, a movement for self-determination spreading across the Arab world in early 2011. The movement began in Tunisia and reached countries like Egypt, Syria, and Libya among others. Feldman discusses the influence of a common identity and shared media, such as Al Jazeera, on this political phenomenon. Throughout the book, he delves into the protesters' demands for freedom, dignity, and social justice, as well as the differing outcomes in each country. Proper understanding of the Arab Spring is of utmost importance, as it has a significant impact on future events, as seen with the more recent movements in Algeria and Sudan.
The Arab Spring and its impact on the world. The Arab Spring marked a pivotal moment in the Arab world, where citizens across Arab-speaking countries began to demand change from their governments. The movement started in Tunisia, after a street vendor immolated himself, and spread to Egypt, Syria, Libya, and other countries in the region. The protests were unique in that they were not against colonial or monarch rulers but within a primarily Arab framework. People felt a transnational common identity as Arabs, and the sharing of media, particularly Al Jazeera, encouraged viewers to think of themselves as part of a broader Arab community. The impact of the Arab Spring was felt globally and demonstrated the power of grassroots movements in influencing political change. The Arab Spring's call for political responsibility. The Arab Spring protests demanded the removal of ruling regimes and presidential dictatorships, with a desire for freedom, dignity, and social justice. The protesters asserted the people's right to govern themselves, paving the way for possible cooperation among parties with differing visions for the future. Democratic political theory supports this right to self-governance, and recognizing the protests as genuine political action highlights the call for political responsibility rather than nihilism. The significance of the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring was not doomed from the start, but the challenge was for the political actors to embrace greater political responsibility. The aspiration of self-determination was not a failure, but a heroic attempt. The brief and limited successes of protesters against tyranny and self-government were inspiring and instructional to future movements. The Arab Spring was not just a movement with negative effects, but one that carried significant political and moral value. While some claim that it was doomed from the start, the success of Tunisia proves that with greater political responsibility, other countries could have achieved victory too. It wasn't the aspirations for self-determination that were wrong, but rather the challenge was for political actors to take responsibility. The heroic attempts of the protesters, although brief and limited, served as inspiration and instruction for other movements to follow. This was evident in the ousters of Abdelaziz Bouteflika in Algeria and Omar al-Bashir in Sudan in 2019. The Arab Spring was not a failure, but a significant milestone in humanity's aspiration towards self-governance and determining their political future. Pan-Arab nature of Arab Spring. Arab Spring protesters shared a common chant, signifying pan-Arab nature in calls for change. Pre-uprising, critics doubted transnational Arab political identification. The uprisings proved their existence. However, social divisions in Egypt, Syria, Libya, and Yemen undercut international Arab unity. Pursuit of self-determination resulted in greater disunity within nations. Political responsibility lies in internal change. Political Islam and democracy. The book highlights the relationship between political Islam and democracy. It explains how those who favor democratic political Islam want to incorporate it into society via liberal democratic processes. The Muslim Brotherhood advocated for this form of political Islam, but was never successful in implementing it. During the Arab Spring, the Brotherhood won elections in Tunisia and Egypt, but was unable to govern successfully. The only successful example of an Islamic democratic government is Iraq. Today, political Islam has become associated with efforts by extremist groups like ISIS to create a pre-modern classical Islamic government. Building a functioning democracy. Tunisia stands out as a success story of the Arab Spring. Unlike other countries that participated in this movement, Tunisia benefited from a high level of political responsibility, civil society institutions that favored a move to democracy, and pragmatic leaders who understood the challenges ahead. Tunisians were willing to compromise, exhibit realism and flexibility, respect the value of consensus, and take full responsibility for their actions and their consequences. Key steps, such as forming a commission to plan the reform of the constitution and enacting a mini-constitution prior to the establishment of a new government, paved the way to a functioning liberal democratic government by 2014. This book highlights the Tunisian story as one of modest, chastened heroism, the heroism of compromise. The power of agency in the Arab Spring. The people of Egypt exercised agency during the Arab Spring to bring down Hosni Mubarak, demand democratic elections, and choose Mohamed Morsi as their new president. However, Morsi's government remained weak, and the people repudiated democracy by prompting the army's removal of Morsi in 2013. This highlights the concept of agency, where people make conscious and intentional choices to determine the outcome of events, including rejecting forms of government they don't want, such as democracy. Syria's lack of compromise. Syria's civil war was fueled by a lack of compromise, resulting from minority dominance of political power. The Alawis, a non-Sunni religious sect, came to dominate the Syrian regime, further fueling the conflict. The Arab Spring uprisings originated among Sunnis, and when it came to Syria, the regime portrayed the uprisings as a threat to Alawi dominance. Both sides believed they were capable of winning, and after Syria spiraled into civil war, tepid American support for the Sunnis prolonged the conflict. The tragedy of Syria highlights the devastating consequences that can result from a lack of compromise, even when the popular will seek peaceful resolution. The political theory of Islamist Salafi-Jihadism. The Islamic State's project of building a revolutionary reformist political community was based on the political theory of Islamist Salafi-Jihadism. The group aimed to create a state on the blueprint of a classical Islamist polity, drawing 33,000 volunteers from various countries. These enthusiasts committed horrific acts that were justified under Islamic law. The project bears some political parallels to the Arab Spring movements, as members sought self-determination to realize their vision. However, by the end of 2017, Western, Russian, Kurdish and Shia forces had taken control of its territory, leaving the Islamic State to exist in name only.
As the Arab Spring movement strove for self-determination, its results varied widely due to differing levels of political responsibility and capacity for compromise. Exclusive political responsibility and individual nations' particular circumstances determined the outcomes of these uprisings. Tunisia emerged with a functioning liberal democracy, while Egypt faced a tragic rejection of democracy, and Syria spiraled into a devastating civil war. Ultimately, the Arab Spring served as a testament to the power of popular will and political agency, highlighting the impact of their choices and responsibilities. Furthermore, these events have informed and influenced more recent political movements across the globe, demonstrating the importance of understanding the power of collective will and political self-determination in shaping the world.